Oh,
site.
so you're okay today, just call me
Oh,
over
I
if
had a
you need
terrible
help.
time today. I didn't get on till 6:30. I couldn't get my computer to work.
Oh my,
But,
yeah, we gotta
well,
have,
Diane helped.
Okay, I'm gonna get us underway here.
good,
But yeah, we need some kind of work with these computers.
yeah, for sure.
Open. Good. All right, I'm going to get us underway. A reminder, we're going to use our microphones because we have the million people viewing us online, even though that our meetings now are open to the public, which is great to see that they're open to the public. So I'm going to call our meeting to order at 7:06, and we're going to have O Canada, so please stand if you can do so. So thank you to Centennial School for the Manitoba version of O Canada. That's great, great to hear, and certainly great to hear young kids back singing. Certainly good to see. We have a treaty acknowledgement. I'm going to ask Trustee Barry to read out our treaty acknowledgement.
No. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We acknowledge the traditional land upon which Sunrise School Division resides as Treaty Territory 1. We honor our partnership with Canada's original peoples and respect the gifts of Indigenous history, culture, and language. We commit to moving forward in partnership with our communities in a spirit of collaboration and reconciliation.
Thanks, Trustee Barry. Before we adopt our agenda, just a reminder that we have 8 of our trustees here: Trustee Inslee, Trustee Duma, Trustee Barry, Trustee Reed, Trustee Rowan, Trustee Harris, Trustee Nicol, and myself. My name is Paul Mang, I'm the board chair. As well in the room, we have our Superintendent Timko, our Secretary Treasurer Thiessen, our Assistant Superintendent Fielberg, and we have our support that helps us all the way is Stacy Bonato. And we have with us tonight, first day on the job, Kim Stevenson. She's the principal at Lac Du Bonnet Senior, and welcome, Kim, for coming, and we'll get to you shortly. So I need the adoption of the agenda. Be it resolved, the board approve the agenda. I need a mover and a seconder. Moved by Trustee Nicol, seconded by Trustee Reed. Any comments? Please all join the meeting, and then we'll go ahead and vote. And so it passed 8-0. Thank you for that. 3.1 talks about that we reminder that if we have any questions, please send them to jody.thiessen@sunrisesd.ca. Name and address of the sender must be included in the email. Please send those if you have any questions. And again, it's the first meeting that, I think it's the first meeting that we've had open to the public for a long time.
Last time was open
last time was open to the public. Okay, that's because I wasn't there, my apologies. But it's great to see that our doors are open and that people can come back in person and to see us. Certainly chairs comments and share a story. I'll open it up to anybody who wants to share a story. Trustee Nicol?
Yeah, I'd just like to mention that on Sunday we had the class of 1970 came and had a reunion at Whitemouth. They toured the school, and I'm going to mention some of the comments. They were amazed how clean and how well kept the school had been after 52 years they hadn't been there, and that they were. Things have really changed a lot since they were in the 52 years, but they were really amazed about how the school was and how everything was ready to go, because school's going to be starting tomorrow in most cases, and so they were amazed. So I just want to give kudos to the cleaning staff of Whitemouth School, and they actually one of the staff was there to help us open up, and we toured all the rooms, and they had never seen the gym before because the gym was built in 1972 and this day was 1970, so that was amazing. Couldn't realize that a small town like Whitemouth could have the largest gym in one of the largest gyms in Manitoba. So.
Thanks, Trustee Nicol. Anyone else share a story? Go ahead, Kath.
Thank you. I know we often have time to talk about the great things that are happening within the division and how we work hard here for all of the staff and students within the division, but I got a letter from the Manitoba Teachers Society. We have 5 staff members who are doing work throughout the province, and that's always nice to know that we have people in our own division that are off helping others in the field of education. So kudos out to Shauna Chanis from École Edward Schreyer School for working on curriculum and teaching, to Carol Blocker from Springfield Collegiate, who is one of the teacher-led trainers, as well as Laura Skiba from Springfield Middle School, who is doing some teacher-led training. Melanie St. Pierre from Springfield Collegiate is a collaborative learning facilitator, and as is Julie Martins from Lac du Bonny Senior School. So 5 folks doing some work out in the province.
Thanks, Kath. That's exciting, and thanks to the teachers that are doing that for us. Anyone else share a story? I'm going to share one. I got a call from the principal at the new principal at Powerview School. Her name's Chrissy Visna. I got a call from her this afternoon, and they had a pancake breakfast for the staff this morning, as many of our schools do that. And she was just excited about getting into Powerview School, and just wanted to share certainly part of her day. And you could just tell from her voice that she was pretty excited to getting back to work, as I know that there probably was, I'm sure, a few people going, oh, I got to go to work today, and there was lots of them getting pretty excited about getting students there tomorrow. So thanks, Chrissy, for the telephone call, and it was great to hear. Anyone else? Okay, we have Kim Stevenson from Lac du Bonny Senior, but I'm going to turn it over to you, Kath.
Welcome, Kim. Kim is the new principal at Lac du Bonny Senior School. And although she's got the title principal behind her name, I know she has been a really key part of working with Chrissy Visna on the planning and all of the hard work and the student-led groups and the mental health initiative that is on the go at Lac du Bonny Senior. So this is not new territory for Kim, even though the principal in front of her name might be. This is hard work that she's been doing over the last couple of years.
Okay, well, thank you for having me. Thank you for letting me get it out of the way first. Yeah, so I did speak with Chrissy this morning as well. She did sound very excited. She was happy to be there. She was checking in on me, which was nice of her. And she was willing to come here and share this with me, but I also told her that I knew that she has a lot on her plate this year too, so if she felt that her time was better spent there, that she was welcome to do that too. So, okay, I guess we can get started. So when we established our school goal, we started with a new one last year, and the reason we went in this direction was that we noticed that there were a lot of negative impacts on our students' mental health, partially due to COVID, but some of them had just been perpetuated. We noticed a lot of isolation, disconnection, anxiety, and depression. As educators, we all know that one of the key determinants of overall health is good mental health in order for them to reach their full potential. So we decided that we wanted to take that list of students that we have at risk. So you can see the numbers are quite high in some of our grades in our school right now. And we wanted to work at bringing those numbers down so that students were better able to meet their potential. So this is our school goal. We are working towards all students being able to demonstrate increased skills related to resiliency, self-advocacy, self-regulation, relationship building, and decision-making. And through those skills, they will develop a sense of belonging and a belief that they can be successful and achieve their personal goals. So we started our year having students complete the Canadian Mental Health Association Mental Health Meter to provide a baseline indicator for where our kids were at. You can see that the category of balance was a low spot for all of our age groups. So the Canadian Mental Health Meter says that when your life is out of balance, it can be work, family, or personal interests, but one or more aspects of those one or more of those aspects of your life are being neglected. Anytime that score is between a 2 or a 3. So other than our grade 11s, we did show all of our grades being in that range of being out of balance, so we wanted to find ways to help them bring those numbers up. Something that was a little bit concerning but not really unexpected was that all of the students, or all of the categories, were areas of struggle for our alternative ed students, and that is, I mean, partially why they're in there is that they're struggling with lots of those concepts in their personal lives. So some of the things that we were doing at Lac Du Bonnet Senior, we had CALM activities. So CALM stands for Cooking, Art, Leisure, and Me. It was an after-school program facilitated by our school counselor, our social worker, and our school mental health worker. And then they partnered with various community experts depending on what the activity was. They were designed to provide exposure to a variety of activities that focused on mind health, promoting well-being, and fostering other areas of self-care. So some of the benefits of the program for the students were that it reduced their screen time. It provided mentorship opportunities for them with younger students, but also for them to find mentors in trusting adults. It allowed them to reconnect with peers and adults after experiencing all the disconnect from the pandemic. They indicated less anxiety and depression symptoms by having those opportunities to gather as a group. They were able to see people model appropriate coping strategies. It also was a free program, so it eliminated some of those socioeconomic barriers that we see in our community, gave them access to extracurricular activities. It also was building capacity to incorporate well-being as an aspect of their everyday life and to promote healthy lifestyle choices. Lots of good stuff happening there. Another thing our school counselor took on is she conducted meditation sessions with all of our middle years classes. So she conducted 10 sessions with each group. And the reason for that is that meditation has been shown to reduce stress, control anxiety, enhance self-awareness, lengthen attention span, improve clarity of thinking and positive feelings, self-control and awareness, also improve sleep and physical health. The feedback from our students was very positive, and the app that Ms. Gao used with them, it was called Balance, that's the logo for the app, and they actually have a free trial, and every single one of our middle year students took advantage of that and downloaded it so that they could use it at home. We are looking forward to seeing them come back and seeing how many of them have used those strategies over the summer. That will be this week that we'll probably be talking to them about that. Another thing was creating community within our school. That was identified by our staff as something that they thought was severely lacking after COVID, and they wanted to work hard to bring it back. So we had our student council. There were multiple teachers that worked with our student council members, And they were promoting school spirits and a sense of belonging through having school spirit weeks. We had a staff versus student hockey game in the winter. We had an outdoor activities day in the springtime, and then we had a talent show to wrap up the school year, and that was all hosted by our student council. We also have multiple extracurricular activities offered in Lac Du Bonnet. We have cross-country, volleyball, hockey, basketball, badminton, track and field, and there was a video game club started in the last year, which they met every second Friday in the computer lab so they could play their games on the big screen. And the last one was enrichment activities that were offered. So different students in our school worked together with multiple teachers as well as an artist in the school to create mosaic tabletops. They worked on establishing our medicine wheel garden and painting the directional murals we have in our building. The next one was working on building mental health strategies within our school population. So we do use Project 11, which is done through the Winnipeg Jets. It's for middle year students, so we've been doing that with our grade 7s and 8s. But they are also piloting a program for grade 9 to 12, so we began with that this last year, sorry. Our school was a pilot school for that. It includes concepts of focusing the mind, increasing self-awareness, and building positive relationships. So those were all part of our school goal. Okay. The next thing we did was we wanted to create community collaboration with different organizations within the Lac Du Bonnet community. So Heroes Alliance partnered with us to put on a community Safe Talk presentation to get more adult community members aware to recognize those signs of depression and self-harm and possible suicidal thoughts or ideas. So to get more adults just aware that they can be the person that recognizes and to notify services when needed. We also partnered with Mrs. Lucci's. They provided us a grant for our breakfast program. They also started a program called Lunches on Us, which was helping to reduce the food insecurity that a lot of our families were experiencing due to COVID. And Mrs. Lucci's also has hired outside therapy, so students that can't afford therapy on their own or from outside agencies, and who also can't really wait for the public health services that are available, can access therapists through Mrs. Lucci's. We also partnered with the Winnipeg River Rec. They provided after-school recreation programs, and the Lac Du Bonnet Charitable Foundation, which provided a grant for laptops and a cart for them to ensure that students have access to technology when we were remote or blended learning. The Breakfast Clubs of Canada also provided a grant for our breakfast program, and then the IERHA provided grants for a Canadian mental health workshop, the public health nurse to come do presentations in our classroom on different topics. They provided money for our comm activities, and then they also provided the dietitian to participate in those comm activities. Close to my own time. And the last thing we did was we took our student profiles, our classroom profiles that we use in student support, and we turned them into a tool for students to use so that they could advocate for their needs. Students provided information on their preferred learning styles, their academic strengths and needs, as well as social emotional concerns. And what we found when we used this is that it confirmed the data that we got from the Canadian Mental Health Association meter, and that balance was really a key area where our students were struggling. Our grade 11 showed more than 40% of students voicing difficulty with balance in their lives. The students completed these profiles with our student support teachers, but they were told that this information would be used by their classroom teachers. So something that I think is of note is that while they were open about some of the things that they were struggling with and they wanted help, the numbers here are likely underrepresenting their needs simply because people don't share when they know it's going to be read by other people. What these profiles also identified for us were 3 additional areas that we want to look at more closely. They showed high numbers in students struggling in their coursework. In our older grades, the fact that even Some of them identified substance use as an issue for them. That was really telling because most people will hide that, so the numbers are likely higher. And we noticed that healthy relationships were identified by a number of our students, so we wanted to work with that. Probably the part that you want to know the most about is how are we spending your money? I thought that would get a laugh. Okay. So these are some of the tabletops that we had. There was a collaboration with the artist in the school and with our art teacher and with our Indigenous Studies and ELA teacher. So they created and designed these murals, and then they were installed as tabletops in our outdoor picnic tables to help develop our outdoor classroom space. We also used some of the money to buy books for students who wanted to do some self-help work. They requested information on how to quit smoking and vaping, developing their coping skills, finding balance, resiliency, mental health, self-mutilation, building friendships, online safety, eating disorders, and we provided resources for students, for specific students, to help them better understand the different areas of struggle. We also started a book study as our staff, so we bought books for the staff as well to participate in that study, which is the next slide, and that is the PD that we were working on towards the end of last year. So we started reading this book called Teachers These Days by Jodie Carrington. She is a school psychologist. Well, she's a psychologist and she works in schools or with a lot of schools. So our team leader, Lisa, facilitated our professional development using this book. So as a group, we were considering the importance of taking care of ourselves so that we can best care for our students. There was acknowledgement around the table of how difficult it can be and the importance of us setting the example and taking care of ourselves so that we can find connections and that we are able to be that connection for our students as well. We worked at finding or remembering our why, which was why we got into education and why we do the things the way that we do, so making sure that they're grounded in best practices and working towards what's best for our kids. We also started to set goals. We're working towards every student having an adult in the building that they are connected to. So it doesn't need to be their classroom teacher. It can be a teacher from years ago. It can be the custodian, but just making sure that everybody has that one adult that they know they can go to if they're struggling. And we looked at different ways we could frame questions when we're talking to our students, so to help them be more self-aware and to help them advocate for themselves a little more. For example, we started looking at how we can get them to share where their sticking points are by asking them where their sticking points are and recognizing that everybody's going to have them, rather than saying things like, do you have any questions, with the implication that they may not. And the last bit is where we're going from here. So this is a long list of our dream goal if we had nothing to do but work on improving the mental health of our students. So we will be narrowing this down over the next couple of weeks to see what we're going to focus on most. But the Rob Nash project is another thing that deals with mental health that is going to be piloted with our high school phys ed classes. We plan on building teacher and classroom toolkits that are either different calming devices or spaces that allow students to take care of themselves. Help them in developing a growth mindset. We want to build a guiding document for our staff so that we know where we're going and we have checkpoints to make sure that we're meeting those goals. We want to increase our school student celebrations so that we build that community and everybody is sharing in the individual successes. Last year, there were steps taken to start a teen clinic at the health center, but unfortunately, the staff that was going to do that there took a new job, so we're going to be looking at partnering with them again to get a teen clinic started so our teenagers have a place that they can go get safe care and take care of some of those issues that they're maybe afraid to talk about. We want to develop a school mental health committee and mental health first aid, which is a PD that we're hoping to have in our building. And then the last four were identified by staff as things that they want to know more about so they can be more helpful to their students. And that's mindfulness, sleep hygiene, internet safety, and the truth and reconciliation calls to action. So that's all I got. Any questions? Sorry, where are your sticking points?
Thanks very much, Kim. You can breathe, you know, it was a great time, first time coming in front of us, so good job. Yeah, absolutely, about sharing the information. We will have some people that'll ask you some questions. Don?
I've got a few questions. I'm a numbers guy, so there's 2 slides I don't understand, so I need some clarity on those 2 slides. I know that you're new to the position, so you may not be able to answer. The first slide was students assessing counseling, mental health, and social work. There's no place, what year was that? Was that 2021 or 2020?
That was, oh good, that was you, not me. That was this past year's data. So that was data that Chrissy collected, I want to say around spring of 2022.
Okay, and the next question is, what was counseling? Counseling, there's different types of counseling. There's career counseling and there's personal counseling. You haven't indicated whether it was career counseling. Was that included in there? Because I was a counselor when I was at Whitemouth, and if you did this survey included career counseling, I would have had grade 7, 100% that saw me. So therefore, was career counseling included in this, or was it just personal counseling?
So these are just students that are accessing our guidance counselor, mental health worker, or social worker for individual issues that they're dealing with.
So am I hearing you saying just personal counseling, not career counseling? Okay. The next one is, I don't understand the one dealing with the balance. And what does that mean? You said balance is 2.6, 2.1, 2.7. What does that mean?
So according to the Canadian Mental Health Association meter, so this is a survey that they put out and then they score answers. Anytime there's a score of between 2 and 3, it indicates a problem in that area. And what they say when balance is in that 2 to 3 range, it means your life is out of balance. So it could be your work life, your family, or personal interests, but one or more of those aspects is being neglected. So because you feel pressure in other areas, that you're having to leave one of those, that you're not spending as much time as you feel you should be on one of those areas.
Okay, thank you. You've answered my questions.
Anyone else? Trustee Harris?
At the start of this, it was mentioned that today was your first day as principal. I assume you were working last week, the week before, and I'm sure you were sleeping as a principal for quite some time, looking forward to tomorrow and the students being back. One of your slides mentioned and showed tabletop murals. Was that the same gentleman that did the stuff at the École Beauséjour School, do you know?
I didn't know they did that at Beauséjour earlier, but this is, oh, her name is Annie Bergen is the artist.
So it was a he at the other school, and that's a her, so it had to be different, yeah. I can put 2 and 2 together sometimes. I'm going to go carry on with one of Dawn's questions. Your first slide noted that about the students accessing counseling, mental health, and social work. And you mentioned that number was from last year. You may not know the answer to this because you first day on the job. Do you know if those numbers, I assume the numbers were lower in previous years, but you may not have that data on hand, right?
I don't have the data for what they were previously, but actually what I do know when this data came about, and that was Chrissy had come to all of us on the student support team and asked us to just count the number of students on our caseload, and broken down by grade. She didn't need a list of the students. And so she brought that to us as saying that those numbers were significantly higher. I know for myself, I was resourced last year, and I had, of high school kids, we didn't have new kids coming in. I had 5 new kids come with new diagnoses that were now at risk. So there were kids that were maybe managing with their, maybe their ADHD, that the pandemic just threw them for a loop, and then we were not able to manage that anymore and had to have the diagnosis and an AEP written for them. So yeah, she definitely noticed numbers increase.
It's not good to see numbers that high, but it's one of the first times we've seen numbers from the school. So in that respect, I hate to say it, it's nice to see the numbers, but it's not nice because they're high. And I think that is probably representative of schools all across the country. And hopefully with the new year starting up, we can see a good decline on that as students meet face-to-face with teachers and their friends and the like. Thank you very much.
Anyone else? Trustee Duma?
Thank you very much. I also wanted to specifically thank you because you came on September the 6th, which is, wow. So thank you for taking your time this week since it's your first week. Really appreciate it. So just a couple questions. One of them I had was, this is the initial assessment. Now you're going to do a follow-up assessment to see if any of these things that you did will make a difference. And also, do you have a parent council, and has there been any feedback from the parent council?
Okay, you might have to remind me of all the questions later. But to answer your first question, we had planned on having follow-up data in spring. Unfortunately, our counselor had a death in the family and had to take some time off, so she wasn't able to facilitate the gathering of that. But we are planning on taking that again at the beginning and then doing these assessments regularly so we can hopefully monitor that data and see those numbers coming down. Right. In terms of a parent council, my understanding is that there is one, but it hasn't been all of that operational as of late. I do have plans to put a call out to our families, but hopefully we'll get something involved.
I just see that like one of your next steps is internet safety and health technology, and I thought parent councils are often interested in that kind of stuff too, so I just thought I'd throw it out there.
Anyone else? Trustee Barry?
Yes, thanks for the presentation. Very interesting presentation. I just have one question. I believe the CALM program, you said there was an after-school program, and is there a lot of students that have taken advantage of that program, enrolled in it?
Yeah, so I believe they capped the numbers at 26, and they were full. So, yeah. Yeah, they did things like the one picture up there, they actually went to one of the greenhouses, and the woman who owns the greenhouse showed them how to build or how to put plants together in those pots, so they learned a little bit of gardening, and yeah.
Thank you. Anyone else? So Kim, I got a couple of questions. So good for you. So what you're working on is on mental health. So at the end of this year, when we get you back, I'm not saying we're going to get you back, but at the end of this year, when you're going to say that you've been successful, how will you know? And what do you say success is?
So obviously, people's mental health is a hard thing to evaluate. As a staff, what we talked about is how we see success coming is that we're going to see fewer attendance problems because that anxiety isn't keeping them from walking through the doors. We are going to see students coming in and accessing that extra help. Our teachers are available, but students aren't accessing it right now because they just don't have, it's not the desire, they don't have the will to, they can't get themselves going to get that work done. So we're hoping we'll see that, which again will improve in our student achievement levels as well. But we should hopefully be seeing all of these caseloads come down. So students that are able to manage those times of anxiety or their inability to get themselves motivated to accomplish their stuff, if that's happening less, they no longer have the need to be speaking to that worker as often. So we should be seeing caseloads come down.
So I think what I heard from you then, Kim, is by seeing some of your success, because we're always looking about what you're doing and how are you knowing if it's working. So I think I heard you say is that if our attendance, there's a difference in our attendance, if there's a difference in how many students are accessing teachers for support, and that you're seeing caseloads drop because you're being successful with a number of the activities that you're doing, so that you're seeing that those things will drop. I guess that's in a nutshell is what I'm trying to say, is that that's how you're going to measure. And so if I were to ask you later, if I would ask you, come May, how are you doing? Those are the kind of things that you're going to be able to come back with, saying is that we're trying to improve mental health, and these are some of the things that we're doing, and we're seeing the success. We're doing lots of things, but from the lots of things, we can't pinpoint the one, but we are seeing success, and those are some of the measurements that you're looking at.
Yes.
Okay. Thanks. Anyone else? Don?
I'm hoping you're not looking at the first sheet, which says grade 7, that's all at 61%, and hoping it'll go down. To me, that's not a measure of whether they're success or not, because I find out that when the kids are in good shape, they come see the counselors more often than when they're in bad shape, because they want to brag about how good they are. At least when I was a counselor, lots of times I would see kids, and they didn't want to talk to me about how bad they were doing. They want to talk to me how good they were doing. So if I was keeping statistics, in grade 7, I used to have maybe probably 100 to, we'll say 95% of the kids would be seeing me. Not necessarily that they wanted to see me because they were in trouble, but they wanted to, well, I'm going to use the word brag about how well they were doing. So I don't think that we can look at these things and say in May that grade 7 is 57 and it's a good thing or not. I think there's more things to it than just a percentage. And also depending, it doesn't tell me also how many times did a grade 7 student see you. It was the number of kids, but not the number of times. That wasn't included in that, and that's important too. If a kid sees you a number of times over a year, it's more important than if you have a number of kids, because sometimes they want to check in, they want to talk to you. I mean, but I like the program that you're doing, that every kid in the school is going to have an adult, and that's sometimes what they want, is they want to just talk to an adult. And in most cases it is the counselors, but you've done one step further, you've got other adults, which I think is a really good thing. So thanks for that.
Kim, thanks for the presentation. Oh, Lars, go ahead.
Not a question, but a comment. One on the data, which is fantastic that you don't have one measure. You have the number of cases, you have the survey data, and you have your goals about the specific skills you want to teach. There's lots of ways to then mingle that stuff together to get a good picture. So there's lots of data points in there that will give you a really good idea. Because you're right, they may do a fantastic job and see some numbers unexpectedly go up, but you have other measures you can look at to say, oh, but this or that. That's the complexity of data. So you've already started with more than one measure, which is fantastic. And if you are aware of the Healthy Schools Pillars and the Canadian Mental Health Association, their model for what school mental health is, it's all there. Like that itself is a piece of data about, are we doing everything a school can do according to what the powers that be tell us needs to be done? When you were listening to that, it's like, oh, there's that pillar, there's that pillar, there's that pillar. And especially the community engagement, which is really tough for schools. You've partnered with the community, that's really tough for schools to do. So that's an interesting piece of data in terms of, do we have the pieces in place? And it was loaded with stuff in there. It's fantastic.
Thanks, Lars. At the end of the day, we still want to know if what we're doing is working. And there's lots of data that comes out and tells us those kind of things, so for sure. Kim, I'm going to give you a minute. You're in front of the board now, and if it was February where board makes decisions with budget, what's something that you need?
That puts me on the spot. I don't know what I'm going to need in February. A beach holiday is what I'm going to need in February. I know right now what I would ask you for is another counselor or another social worker or another mental health worker, because I know our counselor and and social worker actually were on all summer long. Like, they did not get a break. They were dealing with students. So, yeah, their caseloads are full.
Thanks. Kath, I'm going to have to let you in.
I used to have some things that I wanted to point out and say, but then Don and Paul and Lars took them about some of the dangers of single source data, and you've handled all of those things. So thank you very much. I know that you have a really brilliant team of people that are working with you, and it is lovely that you were here able to come and present to the board the work of your team. So thank you for that.
Thanks very much, Kim. Enjoy. We're going to move on. We have 5.1, our minutes. Be it resolved that the board adopt the minutes of June 21st board meeting. I need a mover and a seconder. Moved by Trustee Berry, seconded by Trustee Rowland. Questions on the minutes? Hearing none, we'll vote. Why? You signed up. So our minutes passed 6-2, with one abstention and the one absent. Sorry, 6-2. Thank you. We have minutes from August the 30th. Be it resolved, the board adopt the minutes from August the 30th. Need a mover and a seconder. Moved by Trustee Nicol, seconded by Trustee Harris. Comments on the minutes? Trustee Duma?
3.2, the last paragraph in the second paragraph, last statement, final performance was, quote, sunglasses. That's not what it was. It was final performance. The students were wearing sunglasses. So it wasn't called sunglasses.
Point 2, I'm sorry.
3.2.
Oh, share. Thank you.
3.2, the second paragraph, the final performance, students were wearing sunglasses.
Thank you.
I spoke about the effect.
Yep. We can get that changed, thanks. Anyone else? Okay, hearing none, we'll vote. And it passed 6-2, thank you. Superintendent's report 6.1, Kath?
Thank you. A number of things. Today we had a bunch of staff who were busy taking their back to school pictures, because today was the day that staff were all in schools. And we always have a question about, what is that first day used for? So I included the second bullet, just letting people know that we do have some annual training that we do here in the division. Respect in schools, respect in sports. We have a cybersecurity module to make sure that we're up to speed on that. Accessibility training, workplace safety and health, as well as our Whistleblower Act. So a lot of those things were happening, along with a lot of operational and educational things that sort of get things ready for kids. So I wanted to just kind of make that list. I have included for the board the training module sheet for all of those things, so any of the Board of Trustees can go on and click and do your training if you would like to check out what it is that staff were doing today, part of what they were doing, because there's way more than just this. One of the things that I think I'm proud of is that Respect in Schools is something that came out in the spring from the Minister of Education's office, saying that all staff in the education system would be completing their Respect in Schools training. And we have been doing it for more than a decade. So the province actually got together with us over the summer to say, hey, how have you been doing this and how are you tracking it? So it really was an easy transition for our school division to do the Respect in School training. It is important to note that all of the staff in Sunrise are recertifying this year because the province has upped some of the content. So we do have everybody recertifying. The new piece is that all of our coaches in the system will be completing the Respect in Sport module. And so that's a new piece across the province and new for us as well. Second thing that I'm really proud of, and one of the things that we did last spring, is we used some of our early childhood dollars to do a Connect and Learn program. And the last part of this bullet says we'll bring a more detailed and full report on the past data and some upcoming plans, but we made connections with all of the families and students coming into kindergarten and made appointments and had assessments and connected parents with resources and thoughts and ideas of things that they needed to do over the summer, and really gave both the family and the school an idea of where their child was at and what kindergarten was going to be like. Had just really positive and brilliant comments and effects from that. So it is absolutely something that we are going to look at doing and continuing onward with. On the 31st of August, we had a very busy day. We had some operational and educational learning of our administrators. As you can see, we had just had Kim here, and we have a group of leaders that are absolutely stellar at learning, working collaboratively together, and I have zero issue that our schools are in very strong hands, both educationally and operationally. It was invigorating to be in a room full of leaders who had that much passion for education. Then we followed it up in the afternoon with a new teacher's afternoon, and we had tables of new educators who came in to the afternoon looking a little bit scared and perhaps a little bit nervous, and by the time they had left and were connected with their mentors and had done some activities that they could pick up and take back to their classrooms, it was really neat to see those connections being made. We have a new STA president, Serena Close, also joined us for the afternoon of relationship building and information sharing, and she was a welcome addition to the group. Big shout out to our Board of Trustees for once again purchasing school supplies. So as kids come into schools tomorrow, the school supplies they need for their classrooms are there ready and waiting for students. Positive feedback throughout the division, and also I think the Free Press had an article about some of the cost prohibitive I guess constraints that some families are facing, so that's a great initiative, and thank you to the board for continuing on with that. We also have a regional municipal forum being held on September 12th out at the Haddishville Civic Center, and some of the trustees along with the senior admin will be attending there. Lastly, just for those people that might be watching or who might look at this later or just have a wondering about our COVID protocols, there are no formal protocols in place, but we do have some recommendations, so we want to make sure that we let folks know at the places and spaces we can that if we're sick we need to stay home, that it's important we follow frequent and good hand hygiene, that we respect everybody's choice to wear a mask or need to wear a mask. Lastly, we have rapid antigen tests still available and can get more of those tests. So as we come into the fall and we get into more closed spaces with less outdoor time, if there are any families or any staff members needing to get any rapid tests, we have those available. Please just ask at your school or the division and we'll make sure that you get those. That is my report. I included the mural from Lac Du Bonnet Senior School as part of my report, just as a shout out to them for doing such great work and the presentation for tonight. Unless there's questions, that's my report.
Thanks, Kath. Trustee Reed?
I can talk loud. Respect in schools, where do people get that?
Thank you. So it is an online training module, and so the fourth attachment that you have in there will have a link to Respect in Schools, and you would just sign in as a member of Sunrise School Division, and you would be able to go through the training. It takes about an hour and a half, and that's where the training lives, as an online module. Does that help answer it?
Teachers have to get the, they have to get certain, I forget the name of it, but when you have to go through a program, see if they're a criminal or not.
So in our school division, we have two authorizations or checks that we do. We do a criminal records check and we do a child abuse registry check. So any of our staff and any of our volunteers have those checks that are done if they're going to be having any time that they're spending on their own with any of the kids in our system. Some of the volunteers that we have who might go on a field trip. So if we have 3 parents who are going to, go with the grade 2 class to the zoo and they aren't spending any time alone with any kids, they may not have their checks in place because they're doing a one-time volunteer and will always be with an adult in our system.
I'm just looking for an opinion. Are the sports basically back to what they were before COVID, or is it still restricted, or?
No, we're back to regular sports. We're back to regular spectators. I think it is just making sure that everybody who's coming, whether they are spectators or athletes or the like, are aware of what the recommendations are and the stay home when you're sick and wash your hands and social distance if you can and those kinds of things. Everybody's in charge of their own safety, but we're back to normal in terms of sports.
Teams, are they still allowed to go to tournaments and say sleep in a hotel or a motel, or I'm not sure that was being done in the last few years.
Yeah, so some of those protocols that I talked about that have been in place for the last 2+ years would have said that there is no out-of-province travel, there are no overnight trips. Those would be the protocols that were in place that we had to follow. And there are currently no protocols in place, but there are recommendations just for everybody to make sure they're doing safe practices. So there are no restrictions or no protocols that are saying we can't do those things.
Thanks, Trustee Reed. Thanks, Kath. Trustee Nickel?
Yeah, dealing with respect to school, do I have to get, when I did it before, I had to get a special number or something. Do I have to get a special number, or when I go in there, can I just do it as a trustee?
You got a special number, all right. Don't worry, they've given you a special number. Go ahead, Kath.
Not very respectful. No, you would just go into the link that you have on that 4th attachment. So all of our staff have that link now. And when you go in, it will ask you, it will have like access program at the top, and you'll choose the school division, and they have all of the names of everybody in the program.
The next question, I noticed there were 36 new teachers. Is that, that to me seems even more than usual, is that correct?
Yeah, and I think I talked about this a little bit in the springtime and maybe at the August meeting. So some of the COVID, coming out of COVID was we had some folks who retired who were hanging on for a couple of years because the dream they had for retirement wasn't quite the same 2 years ago as it was at the end of this year. So we do have some new teachers. There are also some term teachers in there who are filling in for staff that might be on a maternity leave or might be on a medical leave. So we've got a number who are new in that sense too.
Any other questions for Kathy? Trustee Inslee?
I just clicked on a couple of the links and it's asking for a username and password. How do we get that? Can, like, trustees, obviously, I don't know if this is what Don asked, but can trustees take part in these?
So your Sunrise username and your Sunrise password, they're all linked to the same thing. You would be able to sign in the same way you do as a staff member to all your other things.
Thank you.
Thanks. So just a reminder, thank Kathy, you reminded me to remind our trustees in one of your bullets. It's about the regional municipal forum. Trustees, if you're going, please let Stacy know if you're going to the regional forum. And the other thing, Kath, you talked about that purchasing school supplies. I'd love to hear from trustees. Have they heard anything from parents certainly about that? Kath, you talked about us going ahead and doing that. Have you heard any feedback from any of you about the school supplies, about us providing those? Any feedback from any of the trustees? Trustee Barry?
I've heard nothing but positive. Everybody really appreciates it.
Anyone else? Trustee Nickel?
Yes, after they read the report in Free Press about parents having a sticker shock when they realized they went to, not Sunrise, but when other parents went to buy the supplies, when the supplies are probably double the value and they didn't have to worry about going shopping, they were very glad that the school had looked after everything. And also, the class of 1970 thought it was a very good idea.
Yeah, I had a comment for that, but I'd get another one saying that it wasn't respectful, so I'll move on. Okay, thanks very much, Kath. We appreciate it. We're going to move on. We now have, so our draft reporting schedule. Go ahead, Kath.
So just the one thing to note is that if you look at the highlighted boxes, so as we complete things, I will highlight them in orange to say this is done. Our reading recovery data won't be prepared for us until a little bit later, so I just moved the orange box down to the meeting where it would be prepared. I didn't want to move the check mark, so we have a reading recovery report that was due for September, but we don't have our data from the reading recovery organization yet, and wanted to just indicate to you that that's why, and you can see where it will be coming.
Any questions on our draft reporting for anybody? Trustee Duma?
I hope I'm looking at the right one. There was a schedule of reports. One was the audit report on there, right? October 18th, and we've received an invite to it to respond to for 4 o'clock. Correct?
Yes, it's on there. It's on the,
Right.
Kathy has it, the
So-
18th, yep.
We have sometimes in the past had the audit report come 2 times. October the 4th initially, and then if there's feedback from the board, then it comes back for the final presentation to the public the second time. So I'm just asking that, if that's what we're doing or not doing. It looks like we're not.
Is that something the finance committee talked about, Don?
In the past couple of years, at least 4 or 5 years, we've had the audit and at the same time. And that's what, and we're following what procedure we had for the last 4 or 5 years. The auditor comes on the 18th about 4 o'clock, I think, from 4 to 6, and they'll present to the finance committee and to any other trustees that want to be there. And then on the regular meeting on the 18th, the board meeting on the 18th, they will present to the public at whatever time will be, probably 6:05 or something like that. And it is what we did last year, and it is what we've done for the last couple of years.
So the question that Trustee Duma is asking is that maybe let's think of I'm going to say 5 years ago, there was an opportunity for it to come a week or 2 earlier, and in the last little while, Dawn, you're saying that it's something that's happened in the afternoon for the trustees, and then in the evening for the public. And right now, it's scheduled for the afternoon for the trustees, and anybody's invited certainly to that, and then for the public at 7 o'clock. Is that correct?
That's correct.
But your question was, is it in the past that potentially years previous, it had been on a week earlier or 2 weeks earlier, and then that. So I'm not sure what you're asking for.
I was just wanting to pass that by the board to know that it isn't always done this way, and there's nothing written in stone that it has to be done this way. And the fact that it has been done this way doesn't mean I've always agreed with it. So, because sometimes you may have feedback for the auditor that you want him to look at something deeper before you present the final public draft. So that's all it is. There's no appetite for it. I just wanted people to remind them that on October the 18th, 4 o'clock, you can come in early to listen to them. But we have in the past done it 2 weeks prior to.
Thanks, Trustee Duma. Excuse me, but I know, Trustee Nicol, you had told me that the Finance Committee, the recommendation was to do it this way, correct?
I'm not quite sure we made the recommendation. We just decided to follow what we did last year.
Okay. Thank you. Any other comment? Okay, thanks. Thanks for the draft report. We move on to 7.1, Secretary Treasurer. Jody?
All right, yeah, okay, we're good. Yeah, just wanted to bring up to the board what the operational departments have been up to, highlighting just transportation. They've been really busy with their 90 routes, getting them planned. The first week of September for the schools, some schools are having the staggered start dates, so transportation has been busy coordinating between the bus drivers, the schools, and the students when the planned pickups are. The next department that's been really busy this summer, and I've highlighted at the last meeting, maintenance department has a lot of major capital projects on the go. We do have Derek Ryback. He will be presenting at the September 20th board meeting to highlight those projects, but to give everybody up to speed outlook of the projects. So ESS and SCI are still ongoing. There have been many late nights at SCI getting the classrooms ready for the students. And ESS, they're also looking forward to welcoming back the students. We're planning to start seeing windows arrive at SCI this week and ESS sometime later in September. But we have seen some staff on site over the long weekend getting things ready for to welcome back the students. The delays definitely, we're starting to see the impact of the supply chain. What we were finding is the glazing process of windows have been taking longer in the manufacturing side of things. So the windows were the big topic of discussion the last couple of weeks, and still are. So we're slowly seeing them trickle in, and the goal is to have them up before freeze up. Other things that maintenance has been overseeing, the science lab renewal projects at Lac Du Bonnet Senior, White Mouse, and Powerview School. Things are going as best they can. Of course, there were some supply chain issues as well. A lot of these projects, they were estimated with a supply chain issue or extension. However, it's still taking longer than anticipated. There are other discussions underway with 3 portable classrooms, one for Beausejour Early Years, one for Oakbank Elementary, and one for Dugald School. We've reached out to MCM Architects to assist us with best location and best site management there. So we don't anticipate, of course, with school starting, these portable classrooms won't be up and functional at this time, but we're hoping by December or January, seeing majority of them in. So we're looking forward to those additions to those schools. Also, over the summer, there was lots of discussion around White Mouse Daycare, having a daycare site at White Mouse. So those discussions are ongoing, and looking forward to more input from the school and seeing how that's going to turn out. Other things that other departments are up to, finance with their year-end audit, and of course our ICT department, making sure that our technology is working for our schools, so making sure those lofts and smart boards are working, network connections. Just speaking with Gord today, he had to drive out to Best Buy actually today to make sure all the connections for one of the schools are in place. There was a back order with one of the vendors, and he was able to secure some connections to get them installed. So thankfully for Gord, he was able to be the go-to guy to go pick up things today, just so I believe it was White Mouse School that could be connected. So, and other things, yeah, just coordinating with RM Springfield with regards to the Dugald Daycare parking lot expansion.
Questions for Jody? Trustee Nicol?
It's not a question, it's just an observation. I was at White Mouse School today, and the ICT tech was there, and he was busy making sure that everything's working for all the teachers and the staff, and to me, he seemed to be doing a good job.
I'll definitely pass on that message to Gord and his team. Yeah, thanks.
Anyone else? Trustee Barry? I'll come around.
Well, thanks. Yeah, I guess my question is about transportation. I know last year we had a major concern about school bus drivers. Are we okay with that now? Or are we still searching for more? Or if you don't know, let us know the next meeting.
I think the biggest thing is, yeah, we're always looking for school bus drivers. I think right now we're in a comfortable level of having sufficient supply of bus drivers. However, yeah, exactly, knock on wood. However, if there's, you know, if somebody falls sick or some sort of major illness or a family illness, we want that pool of spare bus drivers that we can dip into. And over the last couple of years, that reserve of spare bus drivers have been low. Fortunately, over the summer months, we've been able to certify a few bus drivers, but we're always looking for spare bus drivers. So we will probably keep those signs up on the highway saying we're looking for drivers, because it's a good opportunity for folks to get into the school division and see what driving a bus is all about.
Trustee Duma?
I was trying to just find the original letter that we got from the Dugald Daycare, and I wondered if we had actually sent a formal response with our motion and sent off to them a reply formally, signed off saying what our plan was so they would know what we're doing, if anything was done.
Yeah, thanks. We will be sending one. Thank you, Trustee Duma. Trustee Ainsley?
Just a question on the finance. First teachers pay in September requires a lot of attention and review. Could you just elaborate on what that means?
Yeah, I think the biggest part for our payroll department, they take pride in their job. I definitely respect their attention to detail. Over the summer months, we've received notification from teachers deciding that they want to retire, or in by April and June, they've decided to retire. So through the period of the summer, HR has been filling in those vacancies. So at this point in time, payroll is making sure that they are paying the right teachers at the right pay level. We're also making sure that we're not missing anybody, because nobody would like to come to work and not get a paycheck just because there was some oversight missed. So that's the biggest thing, making sure we're paying the teachers that are doing the roles and paying them correctly. So there's a lot of review, making sure that the benefits have been set up. There's a lot of review, calculations, and double checking with HR to make sure we have the right hiring letters. So it's a lot of work, because this payroll kind of sets out the next 10 months of how folks are going to get paid, and nobody wants to do some recalculation and retro pay because you missed somebody. So, and nobody also wants to overpay someone as well. So yeah, it's a lot of fine tuning at this point.
Thanks. Anyone? Trustee Reed?
I don't want to put you on the spot, Jody, so I'm just asking a general question, because there's no way that you would know the answer, I don't think, so. Well, this was about 8 months ago. I'm going to get Dawn to help me out, I think, but we had a situation on busing between the borders of Whitemouth and Lac du Bonnet, and I think the net result of that was that it was decided that Scott Carlton was going to look into it and maybe make some changes, and I've been out talking to people recently, and I'm getting the impression that the parents involved all say that no changes were made, and it involves kids crossing a highway, and I think what we wanted was for the bus pickup to be moved to Totem Road, which it always was in the past, and somewhere along the way the bus route did get changed, but I don't think we've been able to find a record of how it got changed. So anyway, I'm just basically asking if you can look into that maybe and find out if some changes were made. There's about 17 kids, I think, that are involved, and the boundary comes very close to Lac du Bonnet there. The parents all live or work in Lac du Bonnet, the kids play hockey, etc. So their lives are centered in Lactabani, but they're supposed to go to Whitemouth for schooling, and they have to sign papers, I think, to get them on going to Lactabani. So maybe maybe Dawn can explain that better than I can.
Oh, yeah. So Russ, I don't know if just by bringing that up, I don't know if she would have the answer today for you. So it is something that maybe she could look into you and let you know. I do remember the lengthy conversation certainly around what you're talking about. I'm not sure that if Jody has that information, it is something that she can come back and look for you, but yeah, I'm not so sure if she has it. Jody, do you want to? Okay. So I think that Jody then will come back to you, Dawn, come back to you, Russ, certainly with that information, but she wouldn't have had it come with it tonight. Okay.
I wasn't being nasty.
No, I know that. That's okay. That's totally fine. Anything else, Trustee Rowland?
Did you have any success talking to the RMS Springfield about the daycare plans and maybe supporting that?
With regards to the parking lot we're talking about. Unfortunately, when I reached out, the Director of Public Works was away. He's on holidays for the next 2 weeks, and I reached out to the CAO by email. So no feedback yet, so I'll be following up with a phone call. So, yeah.
Thanks for keeping that on our agenda, though, Diane. That's something that we do want to find out from them. Thank you. Anyone else? Thanks, Jody. We're going to move on. We're into board business, and the one bit of information is monthly enrollment. Kath, any comments? So it's kind of interesting, just so that people know, it's the first day. But one of the things that I've always done is track what we did on May 31st and track on what we do today. And you know what, we are about 200 students shy, you know, on the first day. However, that's not uncommon to not have that there. As long as we move through, we're not 200 students shy. Yeah, okay. Anyways, to take a look at it as to where we are. Trustee Duma?
Just regarding Springfield Middle School, did they have to find another classroom for their kids this year? That's what I'd heard, that they were using the outdoor hut as a classroom.
Yeah, so we've been working with Springfield Middle, kind of tracking the classes coming in, and they've gone from like the 12 classrooms to 13 classrooms. They had some choices as to which space they wanted to use. They've got a couple of options for space, and they chose to use, I think, the hut or the portable. I don't know what we call them anymore. The modular, whatever it is. That's what they're using.
That's not because numbers are up, or it is because numbers are up?
Yeah, they've increased by one class. They've typically, for the last however long, had 12 classrooms, and they have 13 this year. They were ready for that for the last couple of years and just had to make some decisions about what made the most sense for where to put that classroom. Yeah.
Because I think that gets into the community, that the school is using a room that they don't normally use as a classroom, so people are asking about the size of that school.
I think that's something that, you know, in the first few days of school, something that school administrators and Kathy track very carefully as to where we are. Sometimes you'll see some schools get large influx of enrollments. Some will get large people moving out. So for the first little while, I think that it is real important. I think that Kathy probably wanted to find out from everybody today, as you know, or come tomorrow, as to what numbers are going to go ahead and look like, and move forward on that, and track that, because that'll be something that's pretty important to us. But that's not uncommon, right, Kath? Okay.
And we do, throughout the month of September, informally do that count every Friday. So as soon as we have kids in the building and we have all those registrations, and every Friday we just kind of watch that grow up until our formal count at the end of September for the province.
And that's done for, you know what, some of our classes busting at the seam, or some of our classes not, what do they need to be going ahead and doing, and that's something that Kathy works with the administrators on.
Just to add on to that, that means that school would have had to have added teacher for the extra classroom, right? Okay.
8.2 is the Secretary Treasurer disclosure. Jody?
Sorry.
Yeah, I think I brought this to the board before we took a break for summer. But annually, about this time of year, the Secretary Treasurer comes to the board identifying any potential, I guess in some way, conflict of interest or areas where there are other engagements outside of the school division. So again, I'll just reiterate that my husband and I operate our family farm, and will continue doing so while I'm in this position. But I don't intend to have any conflict of interest with any of the producers that we work with or elevators that we work with. If so, I will definitely recognize that and bring it forth to the board and my boss. So.
Thank you. Questions, comments? Okay, thanks Jody for doing that. Appreciate it. 8.3, Friends of Sabres Football Club. We talked about it a little bit, and some more information. Kath, what was yours?
Yeah, so just a follow-up piece of information, did check with the province, and they agreed and said check with Darren Thomas, who is our risk manager. Very, very clear that if it is a community use of one of our buildings, then they can use that for having a beer gardens, but they would have to get their own separate insurance and make sure that they have a third-party insurance, because it would not be insured by anything that school boards or school divisions are looked after. Our school division policy would not allow for alcohol on school property, and so the recommendation from Darren Thomas it really does fall outside the use of public schools. So if the community club football team wanted to have a homecoming and have a beer gardens, it would have to be really, really, really clear that that had zero known school involvement. It would have to be entirely a community adventure, and they would have to go and get third-party insurance to make sure that they were covered for the use of the property. I mean, at this time, it would be my recommendation to permit the homecoming football game, but then not include the beer garden so that it can be a community and a school event as it was identified. Either way, we need to let the organization know as soon as possible, because they're going to have to make some adjustments no matter what they do.
Thanks, Kath. Comments from anybody? Trustee Nicol?
Yeah, from what I understand is that they could have the beer gardens as long as it's not on school land.
No, they can, so an outside group could ask to have a beer garden, and the division then, so Sunrise School Division can't have a beer garden or get a liquor license for it, but an outside group could get a liquor license, provided they got permission from us to go ahead and do that. But as Kathy said, it cannot be the Sunrise or the SCI football team applying to have a beer garden. They can't do that. And so when Shandy Walls brought this forward, Kathy reached out to MSBA. MSBA told them is that beer gardens are, I guess, possible, but it's not affiliated with the school, and the school division can't host a beer garden, even though it's on school division property.
I think the other thing would be, to be totally clear, our staff or our football team wouldn't be able to work as a canteen shift, or wouldn't be able to sell 50-50 or anything involved with the homecoming. So you can't have a community organization take the license or do those things and then have, volunteers or a school affiliation of any kind if this is at the fundraising thing. So it would have to be entirely a community organized event with no participation or volunteers from the school team. That's my understanding.
Comments from anyone? Trustee Barry?
So just so I'm clear, so we've never had any functions for alcohol in any of our facilities or any of our properties, and that's a recommendation going forward? And if so, that sounds like a good recommendation to me.
We have had one, and so the Powerview grad has no community hall facility, and they have asked this board for special permission for their safe grad because there is no facility to host it. That's the only one that I know of.
So remember,
Okay, that's
it
fair
was,
enough.
in that situation, it would have been the parents apply for a liquor permit, and the parents get the liquor permit. The parents sign the liquor permit, then get insurance to go ahead and do that. But it wasn't Trevor Reed, the principal, getting a liquor permit with the parents. It was parents going ahead and doing that, but the school division had to give them permission to go ahead and do it in our school, on our school property. Trustee Duma?
Daisy. So you will communicate to, and respond to the letter then? The superintendent will? Only other thing that I bring to mind on this is the fact, I'm not sure exactly what area they wanted, but it is completely enclosed by residences, the school property. So the yard is back to back onto people's backyards. So I don't know if the neighborhood expects to have a beer garden at the school, just to throw it out there. Even though, and I guess Oak Bank might have some alternatives for other places to be used that might not be as risk-taking as having one there. So, but also to respect the neighbors too.
Trustee Rowland, you had your hand up?
I guess just to clarify, I think partly what you were saying, sorry. I can understand like teachers and staff of the school division not partaking in that event, but some students are members of the high school team and some students are also member of the community team. And are you saying that those students may not be able to volunteer to say do cleanup or whatever because they wear both hats?
Nice with the helmets, that's awesome. And again, I think this is where it gets really, really tricky and it starts to get really gray over what are we as a public school system supporting. Shandy is wonderful at organizing these things and I don't at all argue with the benefits of all the sports. I think that would be something that we would have to be really, really clear on, is that this student is part of the community club thing, and so they are running the popcorn sales as part of the Sunrise Coyotes. And their buddy who isn't part of the Sunrise Coyotes but who plays Sabres can't come help with the popcorn sales. And that has to be really, really clear, if that makes sense. They wear their helmets to tell.
Anyone else? Trustee Barry?
Just so I'm clear, so we are communicating to them that they can have this facility if they so desire, and they're going to follow your recommendation of no alcohol. Just so I'm clear on this.
I guess I'm asking the board what you would like to do with that. So I will follow the wishes of this board.
Well, I would follow the superintendent's recommendation. I would definitely support that.
So Trustee Barry, if somebody wants to go ahead and have a motion that they want to allow a beer garden to go on, a trustee can go ahead and do that. Having none, then we will not go ahead and do that. Trustee Nickel? Okay, so let's move on. Letter from the auditor follow-up.
All right, from last week's board meeting, the question came about is usually the auditor sends out a letter. I followed up with the auditor asking them what their normal process is. Me being kind of new at this role with the school division, I didn't know when they send out their engagement letters. So I spoke with the, I believe it's the principal auditor, Wayne Lusk from MNP. He did identify there'll be an audit service plan and an engagement letter. It'll be coming, should be coming this week, addressed to the board. So it'll identify an option for further investigation if you guys have any concerns or want them to look into something. So, so I'm assuming it'll be addressed to the chair of the finance committee, and so sometime this week.
Thanks, Jody. Any questions? Trustee Duma?
It actually goes to the chair of the board. Yeah, the finance committee is a committee of the board, not the spokesperson is the chair.
And again, we'll talk about it certainly as a group before we do anything, but yes, thank you. Anyone else? Okay, strategic plan development, that's something that Kathy has helped put together, but it's something that we need to do some work to. I haven't spent any time with Kathy on it. Did you want to comment? So it is something that we said that we wanted to go ahead and take a look at prior to the inaugural meeting. We know that we do have some work to do, but Kath, thanks for keeping us on that. It is something that we want to give some direction to, though, to our schools. Comments from anyone? Trustee Duma?
I think we need to get serious about setting a date and set that, we're already behind according to our own calendar. This was supposed to have been done way back in May. And I just think this is an update, but we need to put a date, a plan in as to when we're going to get together and get this going soon.
Agreed. I do think that we are together next Tuesday as a group.
Can we add that on as an agenda, just add in 20
We can
minutes
add
to
it.
talk about a plan?
We certainly can. Yeah, we are together next Tuesday. Thanks for that. Committee reports. The Policy Committee, Trustee Harris.
We have a meeting scheduled for a week from this Thursday, and agenda will be going out at the end of this week.
Thank you. Finance Committee, Trustee Nicol.
We have a meeting on September the 22nd, and then another meeting on October the 18th. The October the 18th one is where we're meeting with the auditor at 4 o'clock to 6 o'clock. Again, it's open to any of the trustees that want to come. And I guess that's all.
Stacy, can you put that into our calendars just for people, and that they're invited to the meeting at 4 o'clock, just so it goes into calendars and then people see it there? Then they can accept or not accept, but that would just be a helpful reminder to people. Is that okay, Stace? Thank you. Do not have a check register, correct, Don?
That's right.
Okay. Education Foundation Committee, we've put it on here just to keep us updated with it. We want to keep it on here as a standing board item. Jody, is there anything, any more news?
I can update the board. I spoke with our legal group, I guess, from Fillmore Riley on Friday. We're reviewing some of the documentation that we have to provide to the courts. We believe we're going to book a fall date. I would imagine it's going to be October or November to book it in with the courts, Manitoba courts, to get our trust redone. So yeah, right now it's gathering information and making sure there's some information we have to update, like the most recent financial statements, what's available, things like that. So yeah, it's coming along really good.
Any kind of timelines that do we think that we have?
I think the biggest thing is once we establish the court date in the fall time, then we'll know more. What usually happens, my understanding is, we'll book a date, we'll talk with, or our legal team will talk with the courts, and they may come back with further clarification or further discussion, and that could take a long period of time because it's not, my understanding is, because this is a trust fund that is not with specific beneficiaries, this is a broad scope. Sometimes there's more questions that come back. So it could be lengthy, but no timeline until we get the questions back later this fall.
Thanks, Jody. Anything for Jody? Please keep us updated. Jody's certainly on there. We'll keep it on here so that people can stay tuned for it. So thanks very much. Professional development, if anybody has been doing any PD, certainly they can share with us. Anybody? PD the board's doing? Okay. I think what Kathy suggested is if any of you want to take that respect in sports, respect for coaching, or respect, pardon me? Respect in schools. those are good things that we ask our teachers to go ahead and do. A lot of our coaches do that, and whether you coach in the schools or in the publics, in the minor hockey or basketball or baseball or whatever, those are all things that are being mandatory to take. If you want to take one, it's a good one to, those are good ones to refresh ourselves with taking. Thanks for sharing that with us, Kathy. Divisional financial summary report, Dawn will have one the next time that we get together, I'm assuming, correct? Financial, okay, perfect. Board correspondence, I think that you have, Chloe Zerg, the information there about a thank you note. You saw the work, thanks Dawn for the work about the provincial funding review response. You have a copy of the letter that was there that went out that we talked about going ahead and doing that. Thanks Dawn for doing that. And thanks Jody, I think that you worked with Dawn about it, or Kath, thanks very much. Go ahead, Trustee Dumont.
Just what was the thank you note for?
Note from here from Chloe Zerk. I'm pretty sure that she was thanking from the last time that I read it about revenue that she received from us, is it not? Thank you very much for your generous gift. I truly appreciate the gift. Go ahead, Don.
If I believe right, I think that's it. And she won a scholarship. I think she got the Sunrise Scholarship.
I think so.
Yeah. And I think she's from Beausejour.
We'll check on that and come back to you, Diane, but I do think that it was a scholarship that was an award. These guys are looking at it and they'll share with us. Where am I? Stuff from the Clipper. Well, I guess, Jody, my questions are there any questions from the public that came into you tonight, Jody? No. Okay. We do need to move in camera. There are 2 items still that we need to talk about that are in camera. There potentially could be something come out of there. Don't think so? Okay. So we don't think that there's going to be any kind of a motion come out of there. If we do, of course, we'll come back into regular and record that. But let's take, it's 9:35, let's take about a 3 to 4 minute break, and then let's get back at it. What did I say? I knew that. All right, so we're back from in camera, and we have no motions from in camera, so we're ready to adjourn the meeting. So, meeting's adjourned. Thanks very much. 9:16.